During the extended lockdowns and closures caused by COVID-19, getting out into nature has been one bright spot for many, but it's far less clear that it's been so great for the natural world. Mary Baxter covers the southwestern part of the province for Ontario Hubs. She joins us now from London with that story. Welcome.
Hi, Jayanne.
Now, Mary, a lot of advice from public health officials has been to get outside, not just for your physical health, but for your mental health. Do we have an idea of how many people have taken that advice and visited, say, parks and conservation areas?
Well, most of the organizations that I've talked to are mentioning that they're seeing just a huge increase in the number of people who are visiting. For instance, the Bruce Trail Conservancy, which the Bruce Trail runs from the Niagara region right up to the tip of the Bruce Peninsula. They say in certain points they're seeing maybe around 50% increase in visitors. So that's like in areas like around the GTA and outside of Hamilton, in the Beaver Valley, and right up on the peninsula as well.
Now, I want to bring up some photos from one of your latest adventures to illustrate sort of the impact of people heading out into the nature. I want to pull up this first photo. This is something I'm sure a lot of people probably are seeing when they're heading out to these trails is a line of cars. Tell us about this one.
Well, this one was taken in southeast London at an area that's called Meadow Lily. There's actually two different areas that are people can access here. One is an environmentally significant area that the city owns, and then the other is a nature preserve that is owned by the Thames Talbot Land Trust. And what's really interesting here is that it looks busy. Okay, maybe that's okay for a weekend, but I took this on a Tuesday afternoon, like early in the
Hmm.
afternoon, just a couple of weeks ago.
I want to pull up a second photo here. This photo looks like a trail covered in snow. Nothing wrong here. What are we looking at?
Okay, again, you're seeing the trail going along. You're seeing where people's footsteps have, made the trail and make it fairly clear. But if you look over a little bit off of the trail, you'll see these other footsteps where it's people that have walked off the trail for one reason or another. And with doing things like that, or your pets off the leash and running around in the forest, there's real issues with things like trampling the native plants that are there, or perhaps even spreading native species or scaring some of the wildlife.
I want to bring up the third photo, and I got to be honest, Mary, this is something that, when I was out in the summer going on trails, this is what I was looking for. It's a sign, and it shows where the nearest washroom is. Have washrooms been an issue?
Washrooms have been an issue in certain areas for sure, because we're in the midst of a pandemic. That means that for some of these areas, they might put in porta potties, for instance, or they might have washroom facilities, but they really lack the staff or the volunteer power to be able to keep those washrooms up to the what's needed in terms of the pandemic right now. So it could mean, heading out to a trail and finding that there is no washroom access, or you're going to have to walk a really long way.
I want to show some more photos. These are photos of the natural habitat here in Ontario, but I do want to ask you, why is it important to protect these species?
Well, these areas are where a lot of our native species are living. I mean, they protect all sorts of native plants. Some of the pictures that we're going to be seeing are of wild leek, wild ginger, for instance, or the picture that's up now is the American woodcock. These are the areas that protect these plants and wildlife, and they're really important because here in Ontario, and particularly in southern Ontario, we haven't got a lot of forest cover left. I think in southern Ontario, it's maybe roughly around 25% forest cover, or even less, which is not considered to be actually great percentage for supporting sustainable lifestyles.
We see the photo of the trail covered and people going off, but I have to ask, is it possible for these areas to just bounce back, as we head into spring?
Well, a lot of the conservationists are worried about what's going to happen in spring. I mean, right now there is a bit of a snowpack, but getting into spring is that's when plants are starting to germinate. So and things get pretty mucky out there on the trails. So people have more of a tendency to walk off the trail to avoid some of that. And so the concern about spreading invasive species and trampling on what's there are that much larger at that point in time. And also we have some ground nesting birds, as we saw with the American woodcock. It's a ground nesting bird.
Mhm.
And so again, there's concerns of pets are off their leash, scaring these birds at a very important time in their season.
Now, Mary, I know for your latest for TVO.org, you spoke to conservation officials. I'm sure they told you, there's some stories out there about being prepared for heading out to these terrains and parks as well.
So sure, and I've heard some anecdotal accounts that I haven't been able to verify, so I can't really talk about them. But one that I found kind of interesting happened earlier this week when a pair of hikers had to be rescued from ice that had broken off a shoreline off of just off of the Bruce Peninsula, and they were quite a ways into Georgian Bay. So these are some of the challenges when people aren't familiar with the terrain.
Well, let's talk about that precautions. As we head into warmer weather here, we're teased here in southwestern Ontario and Toronto with the 5 degrees. But as we start getting into warmer weather, what should we be taking into account as we visit these green spaces?
Well, I think first off, before you head out, check with your local public health unit to see if they are recommending that or if they think that you're allowed or should be traveling outside of your zone, your control zone at this point. They can also offer you tips on how to socially distance when you're in the wild because there are a lot of people on the trails. The other thing that you might want to do is to visit websites such as Ontario Parks or the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry or the Ontario Environment Conservation and Parks websites. They have lots of tips on how to leave a very light footprint when you're out there in the wild. And then when you get to the trail, just remember to stick to the trail and then also to keep your pet on the leash. And I think the biggest thing is to enjoy yourself. Everybody's really excited that people are getting in touch with nature. And it's not like these conservationists don't want people to come. They do. They just want to make sure that you stick to the trail and keep your pet on a leash.
That's very good advice. I want to thank you so much, Mary Baxter. That's Mary Baxter, of Southwestern Ontario Hub journalist.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.